Atlas, and I am joined by LS to take you through a rematch of the LCK Summer Final. Someone on the blue side, DRX on red, and LS, this is going to be a real toughie for good old DRX.
Yeah, I feel like DRX coming into this one, they're going to have a lot to prove with their first round matchup rolling DAMWON, who is considered one of the favorites still remaining in the quarterfinals to take the whole tournament in dominating fashion. So seeing what DRX maybe has prepared leading up to this match is going to be really interesting, because DAMWON, while they did have some shaky games inside of the group stages, they still did look really on form.
Yeah, and the final game that they lost to JDG also didn't mean a whole lot. So you can imagine that DAMWON didn't go out of their way to give out any extra strategies or allow any extra scouting for them either. So look to see a DAMWON in better form moving into this best of 5. I got a fun fact for you, ladies and gentlemen. DAMWON haven't lost a game on the blue side in their last 24 games. 24 games in a row they have won on blue side. LS, they also haven't done a lot of losing on red side, but still, that is a pretty ludicrous stat.
Yeah, DAMWON has just not done a whole lot of losing in general.
Yeah.
The last couple of months, Atlas, as here with their first few bans, it's going to be Shen, Galio, and Lilia taking away. DRX opting with the Nidalee, Twisted Fate, and Lucian. We'll see what DAMWON want to elect to make their first pick here.
Graves is looking pretty open at the moment, but Pioshik does have that the pocket Kindred that he can go towards, of course, named after, as Ender so accurately described in the pre-show. The Graves, understandably, is going to be locked away. One of the things that is left up as well is the Camille, which has been banned away from Nogari almost every time. So it's a possibility that DRX can take that one away, but blind picking Camille has been something that a lot of teams have ran into and have found themselves dealing with a Jax that gets completely ridiculous. There is the Kindred, as we were expecting. And this is where things are going to shake up, as Deft on his Caitlyn. Man, this is starting to get a little bit heated.
Yeah. Kindred and Caitlyn going to be coming out here for DRX. We'll see where they pivot away from these two champions right now, but already quite a lot of physical damage.
Yeah.
Inside of their team composition, Ornn obviously still available. And we saw them playing these two champions in their final match versus Top eSports. Last time around, DAMWON now, they're going to lock in Jhin.
Something that Ghost has gone back to a lot. He can sort of be off in a side lane as Beryl is running around the map doing exactly what he wants, and then he can turn up with that curtain call to see whether he can snipe any kills. Showmaker, just thinking about taking away the Syndra here, definitely has been very high priority this Worlds. Feel like it's something that's come over from the LPL, because all year long Syndra has been pick or ban, as Chovy thinking about what he wants to take into that particular pick. Does give him a lot of flexibility, having seen the mid laner already, and we've got both junglers locked away, both bot lane carries as well. We're going to be looking for top lane and support as we move further into this draft.
And the Orianna lock-in is a little surprising, because it means that DRX, Chovy, he's going to be surrendering a little bit of control around mid lane, and Orianna, she's still looking for some sort of help with
certainly has been very high priority.
Well, this is very interesting because the Leona and the Kennen coming out together on B4, B5, now this is incentivizing Merc Treads to get picked up, and it's sort of harming the Syndra in a way, where they're all sort of working against each other, but it really enables the Jhin and the Graves to probably have a lot more value inside of the game. The scary thing is obviously Kindred, her Lamb's Respite against Kennen slicing Maelstrom engages are going to get really strange. And then you're now trying to run into an Orianna, Caitlyn, and Lulu. And I'm left wondering why they pivot into that sort of a game plan when they have the range from Jhin and Syndra. Feels like they reward DRX's comp, and then DRX, they shore it up with Jace on R5.
And this is a pick that Doran's been able to actually take Nogri down on as well. Doran has, in his time in the LCK, really sort of risen. He's had a bit of a tumultuous season so far, but against Nogri, he was actually able to solo kill him, I believe, in one of their last matchups. And Doran's certainly come into his own, and it is on picks like the Jace that they like to flex between Chovy and Doran. So this could be a pretty good start for DRX, a team that does actually really like Red Side as well. So if they're able to win this game, they will break that 24 winning streak that DAMWON has. But the thing that I'm looking at is going to be in the early game to see whether DRX are going to continue their extraordinarily aggressive playstyle in the very beginnings of the game, because that's where they've found their advantages, where DAMWON hasn't necessarily been able to.
Yeah. And I think that DRX this time around, they have the late game insurance on their side in some ways, and that can definitely prove to be quite valuable for them, because oftentimes DRX, they get into these spots where they have to win very early, where there's no coming back.
Yeah, it's they build just lane kingdoms, and they don't really know how all of the puzzle pieces fit together. They're just the really cool puzzle pieces that they found in a selection of a whole bunch of different puzzles. That analogy wasn't super fantastic, but I do want to bring this conversation over to Deft. He's back on the Caitlyn again. I think he has the highest CS per minute numbers as far as in a singular game. I think he got to 335 CS in a game that they won in 30 minutes time, and so that's just a little bit over 11 CS per minute. Was also, as far as all of those stats, the shortest game to achieve that kind of CS per minute number as well, because of course as a game goes on, it's much easier to get higher numbers there because you're able to farm 3 lanes, things like that. And for 30 minutes, that's a pretty insane stat line, and Deft is what this team's going to be revolving around, right? Like, Deft has had some rough times, you know, he's had some of his back issues, things like that. He's also had some doubts. That Draven game really shook him. And I think if you go and watch the interview, I believe Ashley Kang did one of those. And Deft was extraordinarily hard on himself, but he came out of that game and then pulverized his opposition. So very excited to see whether Deft is going to be able to step up here against a player that he's been very, very outspoken about playing against, right? He's spoken about going against Ghost, and he's like, I'm never going to lose against this guy. And then they got 3-0'd in the final. So that's tough.
Well, I think that one of the things that we have to look here for Deft is which one does he end up showing up? Like you were mentioning, he can have some pretty inconsistent games, and I think when a lot of people think of Deft, they think of a world-class elite-level player that has been at the very, very top for so many years. But if you're an LCK fan and you've been watching Deft this year, sometimes he has very, very shaky games that don't look like the Deft that we've come to know. And this game on Caitlyn, it's going to be really important that he does show up the way that people can expect him to.
Yeah, and this is one of his signature picks as well. I mean, Deft has always been one of those Caitlyn Lane Kingdom type players. I think if you're thinking historically about Deft, it's his Jinx with his extraordinary win rate that he's held on to for many, many years. But his Caitlyn, as far as consistency, has always been very good. So we'll just have to see whether DAMWON can do anything about it. Looking over their side, definitely a lot of comfort. They have that Graves pick that's been so coveted. And they also have Nogri on his cannon, and you know that he can just invent team fights that can just win games.
And this will be interesting to see how the top lane matchup's actually going to go between Doran and Nogri. Nogri taking the unsealed spellbook here on Kennen.
Yep. pretty standard stuff. No Noggery weirdness. Hasn't even taken a cull, LS.
Yeah, he's...
What?
Honestly, I mean, he might be feeling a little under the weather, but we got to trade.
Yeah, bit of an engagement here as Def going down very, very low. It's an extremely late cleanse, and he may not be out of the woods just yet. Actually going to flash, as now Carrier going to get stunned as well. So both summoners in the 2v2 taken away from the AD carry on DRX's side.
And now Def and Carrier, they're just in a very unfortunate situation without their summoners down here. And one of the problems is Kindred doesn't really have very easy gank access in any of these lanes. So I'm very interested to see what Pioshik's going to be able to do. Another problem is with Deft and Carrier getting shoved in and losing that hard of a trade early on. Syndra has permanent control over mid. Oh,
no.
Man.
That's actually huge, as Carrier is here trying to take care of Pioshik, but Canyon just walks in and steals his lunch money.
Yeah, and this is very bad because it's going to be impossible for Kindred to play. Graves is going to double scuttle her now. And you can see that Pioshik, he might try to run over to the left-hand side, but because Beryl got that super big trade early on, he's looking for Kindred. And Syndra's always going to be able to get priority in mid lane whenever she wants over Orianna. It's not until Orianna gets Lost Chapter and maybe has blue buff that she can start pushing back in a 50-50 fashion, but even still, that's not necessarily winning.
No. And it might be too late as well, because we know both of these teams like to play explosively, and DRX aren't known to be able to pull themselves back from deficits. This is a team that's used to being very far ahead very quickly in these games, and that's how they win. It's not really the let's hold on and play for late game style. As DAMWON, they do a bit of both. They just do a lot of winning. Which I know, not great analysis, but it is basically how they play. They just know how to work the map regardless of how things go. Especially up here towards the top side, we talk about Noggery's 0-2 power spike for a reason. I have a feeling that Pioshik can get up here a couple of times, but it won't really matter. This cannon is still going to be able to dictate team fights in the later stages. I think a lot of it is going to have to do with how DRX are going to navigate those situations. This Ghost down here does have his Swifty Boots, went for a cheetah recall as we've got another engage. Deadly Flourish comes down, Carrier down to about half health as Deft is looking for Ghost. Spots him out as Beryl now with the Eclipse is going to be able to keep himself pretty healthy. And it's a relatively even trade in the end.
And we'll see what Ghost and Beryl want to do here. They are getting pretty low on sustain tools. They just have their biscuits available. Ghost does still have some stuff pushing, but meanwhile on top side, once Kennen comes off the reset, he's going to get so much value against the Jace and the Kindred simultaneously with the Seeker's Arm Guard. If Noggery does end up picking up that, and Pioshik is already having a very hard time playing. The mid laner constantly shoved underneath her turret, bot lane lost the trade early on, and you get no value trying to go top lane. So it's a very hard game for Kindred to play.
And also, where are the marks going to be coming in as well? Because it feels like Canyon has absolute control of the entire map. And Kindred is one of these very snowbally junglers. Certainly suits Pioshik's playstyle. But if you don't get those snowballs rolling, then the Kindred can feel a little bit like a dead weight. But still, quite early into this game, only 6 minutes. And there's no gold leads or anything like that. As, okay, Doran going to go for a little bit of a trade onto Noggery here. Gonna have that back denied at least, but both of these top laners just chilling at half health. As Doran is going to deal with this minion wave and head home.
Noggery now just has the wave crashed on top of him. Now Kindred, top side of the map, red buff almost coming up, does RNG a Scuttle Crab mark on the left-hand side, so definitely skillful. I would liken that to Zoe's who roll Redemption.
Yep. I think you're exactly right. I was thinking about that myself, especially when we've got the 2 level 4 redemption rollers in this game. That is Chovy and Showmaker. You guys watched the LCK. It tilted LS to no end. Watching them get it pretty much every single game. As Pioshik going to forego his red buff, he's looking for this mark. You can understand exactly why. And Pioshik will collect the Pioshik.
It's actually what the name means in Korean.
I just wanted to leave it, you know, and just make people confused.
Okay.
As he is going to be able to collect that one for himself. Heading over now, the red buff, and we'll see where the Kindred is going to be able to go. This Canyon just going to throw this blue over to Showmaker. So a bit of a lull state to start this one off, and you can understand with the pivotal nature of this particular game, you don't want to be making any crazy moves or mistakes in game number 1 of a series like this. Now, it feels like DRX have been able to stabilize after, I know there hasn't been any kills or anything like that, but that early game jungle invade and the blue buff steal that Canyon was able to make work, it hasn't turned into, you know, a jungle schooling by Canyon, as it can happen sometimes. So Pureshik coming over here, he'll clear out this ward. And yes, Canyon's ahead, but it hasn't eventuated in too much more other than the dragon that was already picked up.
And, I mean, we see very little going on inside of this game. It seems like both parties are just very content to allow the game to unfold. Now, DRX, they've rotated here for the Rift Herald. This is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, we've got a River Ramp. This is a 5v5. Doran's going to loop around Noggery. Level 7 at the moment, and here's the engage. Curtain Call comes down, and the Lamb's Respite comes in very, very early. Beryl getting a big old heal as Noggery's ultimate is beautiful. First Blood going over to Showmaker, and he still has the Unleashed Power available. As Pureshik very, very low, and that's the Flash Zenith Blade. Beryl has come to play today as Deft gets to the safety of his turret, but you can't say that about Doran and Pureshik. The first 2 kills go over to DAMWON. And
DAMWON now, with that kind of a victory, they also have the Rift Herald captured for themselves, so that's probably going to be planted, I would assume, in mid lane in order to just start getting damage done to Orianna's turret, because she's so good at defending it from damage. So typically you want the Rift Heralds in order to perforate that. But this kind of a win for them, it really stunts DRX now inside of the game. 2 minutes until the Cloud Dragon. We assume that DAMWON's going to be in control of getting that, and it's going to bring us 10 minutes away from a soul point. And things get really scary because we're going to have a good soul this game. We see how this all starts off. Showmaker is forced to flash over the wall. Deadly Flourish almost landed onto him. Now DRX, they're the ones that are behind in lanes right now and could scale better, but they rotated over to the Rift Herald, but their champions are a lot worse at this point in the game in terms of just base value. Lamb's Respite came out very early on, but then Nuggery just waits it out and then goes in with Slicing Maelstrom. Beryl with the Flash Zenith Blade gets on top of him, and you're just left wondering, why did DRX handshake it?
Well, they thought that they had a bit of an advantage, but they absolutely did not. I think the layering of CC was absolutely fantastic, and I think the way that they used Pureshik's ultimate against him, like you mentioned earlier, really, really good. So now, DRX trying to work from behind, and we've mentioned that that is not something that they have been super good at so far this season. Do have a few extra tools. There's now Deft looking for some damage onto Beryl. He's going to press his W, he'll be fine. And Deadly Flourish comes down. Ghost has just been very, very good at the Jhin so far this tournament, making sure that Deft isn't going to run away with any CS advantages. And you can see it's actually Ghost in the lead in this game as Pureshik thinking about wrapping around, but Canyon's going to turn up. Throws down his control ward, and Pureshik is going to slink away. I think this might mean a Rift Herald for the top side of the map, LS, as Doran is going to get Noggery out of there. Turret gets a bit mad.
That was really close.
All right, Solar Flare in the mid lane. That's the flash from Chovy, but it's a little bit late. Still, Shockwave is going to be traded forward. Chovy's going to avoid dying to anything that Showmaker's going to throw out. So, mid lane going to be okay for the minute, and Canyon actually holds on to the Rift Herald, decides that he wants to help Showmaker, and is going to put this one down now. He's carrying Pureshik in the area.
A little bit surprising what's going on here. Ooh, a little bit of a whoopsie daisy.
Yeah.
In top lane there.
Dance of Arrows was absolutely fantastic out of Pureshik, avoiding the scat of the week as the Rift Herald is denied. That is huge for DRX.
And DRX, I mean, they managed to just have so many members in close proximity. So Canyon, a little bit of a blunder there with the Rift Herald, and honestly a very big break for DRX at this point in the game. Teleport coming out of Showmaker, just wants to make sure that he's there, already has the Luden's Echo. And I think this really just emphasizes how far behind Chovy is right now. Not in terms of CS, but just in game state. He still has yet to go back and actually complete any sort of an item. He does have those Merc Treads, but it doesn't really mean anything when nothing's going to be happening in the middle stages of the game. Not going to get insane value out of it. And it's going to be Infernal Dragon coming up next.
Infernal Soul for our very first game of the knockout stage. That is the way you want to start it off, in my personal opinion. As Showmaker shoves another wave towards Chovy, who's going to turn back up. And he'll collect this one for himself. So Chovy farming very well, like you were talking about, but like you say, that first blood helping Showmaker out as far as getting that advantage. And DAMWON with a lot of control around this map, as Canyon is going to lose the Rift Scuttler. As Doran comes through with an empowered Shock Blast. That is a bit of value. As you can see, gold advantage, not necessarily gigantic for DAMWON, but it is still over 1,000 as we crest the 13-minute mark.
And right now, it feels like DRX, they're just continuing to wait for things. The Sanguine Blade on Jace up in top lane is very surprising to me, because I feel like their idea of what Doran's going to be doing in this game is going to be very different than what's going to be forced by DAMWON, which is just the inevitable team fighting around Soul.
Yeah, right.
And so the Sanguine Blade strikes me a little bit peculiar because the laning phase is almost over. And this item's not going to have as much value as the other traditional lethality items as this game begins to open up. And everywhere else, things are fine.
Maybe he's going to be on ghost hunting duty. Maybe he's a Ghostbuster, you know? So if the Curtain Call comes out, the Sanguine Blade's still going to be useful because he's going to find Ghost on his own or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
All right.
Maybe Ghost is going to be in the right position for that item to work. But probably not.
Well, it is Halloween.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so Halloween soon,
Yeah.
Alice.
We might have to sing the song if it's going to continue being an item that's going to be purchased as Beryl. Up here towards the top side. And they really want to try and kill Doran. Doran has fallen once already, but that was in that team fight from before. Hasn't been dove just yet as Canyon comes on through, but Keria in position, and Deft is rotating around as well. Turret plates, not too many of them to actually go down on either side. As the heal actually comes in, they're looking to try and take down Doran, but that's the wild growth as Doran stays in the fight and takes down Noggery. Now Beryl trying to get out of there as the collateral damage not quite enough. This is why you press your potion button, ladies and gentlemen, as Doran keeps himself alive.
That's why you have the Sanguine Blade too for the lifesteal.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Ah.
Yeah.
Don't we look like fools? Egg all over our face.
Well, DRX with Keria just being there ready in position, get themselves yet another good break so far inside of this game, and now they're still only down 500 gold.
Keeping themselves in it as this game goes on, but if team fights are going to continue like the one that we saw earlier, still going to be dicey for DRX, but that exchange towards the top side, and actually if Doran's going to be going for this build, getting him as far ahead as possible is going to be extremely valuable, as DRX are going to lose another Rift Herald, surely in the hands of DAMWON right now. And Canyon might be able to make this one work. Second time's the charm.
We can just see how healthy that mid-tier 1 turret is, and this is just a byproduct of how good Orianna is at keeping her turret alive. Wave clearing endlessly. Has the Archangels. But take a look at this replay. So the exhaust onto the cannon was there. And how clutch was it for Keria to just be in the exact spot that he was while this was going on, and Doran just barely living.
The casual 13 health walk away. Not bad at all. Keria just trying to bother Beryl a little bit as he puts down ward after ward. Control ward still going in here, making sure that they can keep Deft as safe as possible. Ghost pushing in yet another minion wave. Canyon turns up. That's the Hex Flash from Beryl. Doesn't look for a Zenith Blade onto Keria, who skippies away. And this is going to be first turret going over to DAMWON at 16.5 minutes. I believe this is going to be a continuation of DAMWON's 100% first turret rate so far here at Worlds. Shows how much early control that they've had throughout these games. Doran down towards the bottom side, wanting to try and do something to this turret, but it is extraordinarily healthy. The bottom lane, I feel, has just been absent for a lot of this game.
Yeah. Not a whole lot has been going on. It definitely feels like an LCK game.
Yeah.
We got 3 kills here, 17 minutes.
It's what we like to see.
Absolutely,
I'm feeling well at home. I mean, we are at Lol Park, of course, as you guys did see in the picture-in-picture at the very beginning of the game. However, it's nice to have it affirmed that this is definitely LCK versus LCK. Even if these are some of our most aggressive teams that we have, just shows that this game means a lot. And no one wants to give anyone an edge, as now the first Infernal going to be started off by DRX, as Deft is going to shoot it. Noguri teleports in. This will be another 5v5. We'll see how DRX are going to be able to go this time around. There's Chovy off to the side, Beryl looking for a flank, and Noguri as well, wrapping around. Pyosik going to be able to take the Infernal Drake, and DRX just looking to try and get out of there. The flash out. Doran is just going to make sure that DRX can get out scot-free. Ooh. And Canyon getting chunked by that shock blast, the poke from DRX, and now they're going to transition into this outer turret. Collateral damage used just to get rid of the minion wave. And DRX are going to continue pushing by the looks.
Yeah, and getting that Infernal Dragon is a really, really big deal, because it means that not only do they get some increased stats for themselves, but they buy themselves so much time to continue to try to scale up on the Orianna and the Caitlyn. And that is so big for them. DAMWON, they were really close to just being able to lean on an Infernal Soul with Syndra and Jhin, and then probably just get a free win by those amplified stats and then the bonus effect. But now the game's going to go on, and we can have a potentially explosive team fight around that 23-minute mark.
We'll see whether DRX can continue stacking these up. You mentioned that, you know, DAMWON, Infernal Soul going to be extraordinarily valuable, but DRX is exactly the same, right? Like, they have so many damage dealers that will be scaling beautifully with this Infernal Drake, and they have the potential of getting 4 of them, which I don't want to think about. That's too much damage. As Canyon is going to try again. Shirley comes down in this mid lane as Shockwave just to get rid of the minion wave, but he gets rid of half of Ghost Self Bar as well. Command Protect through there, but there is the charge. So Shirley will provide a bit of value, even if DRX's mid turret is still just below half health. It's not the end of the world here for them, as Deft is going to be able to take down the Brambleback and then head back up towards farming.
He's going back up into top lane. He's going to try to shove that in. DAMWON, a lot of their gold lead right now is actually just inside of the turrets.
Yeah.
And so they're about— oh, what?
What? Okay. Sometimes you've just got the serrated dirt and you do way too much damage. Doran picking off Ghost from the backside of that, as I guess Chovy going to be patting himself on the back for that shockwave as well, as now Nogari's going to get the stun onto Carrier, who is going to be A-okay, but damn, I didn't even see where that came from. Hopefully we get a replay and we can see what happened there, as Carrier is just going to rotate around, and Deft able to push all the way forward. And you were talking about, you know, turret gold being a factor. Well, DRX are going to close that gap even further, as it's only 1,000 here at 20 minutes. This game is a lot closer than I think a lot of people were expecting.
This is definitely interesting, what is unfolding here. DRX, honestly, with the Infernal stats that they're getting on the champions, and the fact that their champions are who they are compared to DAMWON's, I feel like DRX are ahead right now inside of this game. At the Infernal fight in 2 minutes, they should likely be favored. And what you're looking for if you're a DAMWON fan is, well, what kind of a slicing maelstrom can Nuguri end up getting, or can they manage to chain CC Pyosik before he's able to get off his ultimate?
Yeah, same can be said for Carrier as well. I mean, they do have a lot of protection methods in their composition on the side of DRX. I mean, Lambs of Spite and Wild Growth, both of them going to create a lot of longevity here for DRX. And they need it. They have no tank, right? They have no frontline. Everyone's squishy. This is a classic DRX comp, not built around the ability to take damage. All they want to do is deal damage.
And nice Jhin recall there.
Yep.
He did just get the red buff and then immediately recalled, so not the best usage of the duration.
That's fine, though. We do see that from time to time. As we'll see whether Ghost can make use of it. Also, Jhin, not exactly the greatest red buff user of all time.
This is true.
As he likes to call curtains and things like that instead of applying it. However, still going to be good. Plus the extra gold's always great. Ace in the hole comes down. Deft pressing his R button onto Showmaker. As Chovy moving real fast with the Whimsy. An opportunity for a fight. DAMWON decide they don't want to take it. 35 seconds until the Infernal Drake, as Carrier has to flash. Oh, you can see everyone's on edge.
And so now Carrier not having his flash available, that can be very scary. Showmaker hanging out just on the outskirts of the vision. No one knows about Beryl. And I don't know what DRX are doing right now with their posturing.
It looks like their priority is going to be on the mid lane, but you can see all of the vision that DAMWON have. They should be able to head just over to this Drake and pick it up. It's up in 3 seconds' time. Canyon's been fantastic at dodging shock blasts. Doran does so much damage, but he needs to connect the skill shots to make it work as we toggle the vision and see how dark it is for DRX.
Yeah. DRX now, I mean, they're trying to hold a Phalanx.
Nogri's been so patient. There's the Solar Flare. Doran down pretty low. And it is just going to be DRX giving this one up as Nogri looking for the fight potentially, but Beryl just going to get himself out of there with the flash. And now Soul Point is in for DAMWON. Really good control of the area. That shock blast is going to land Ace in the hole as well. Scatter the Weak is big, and that's going to get the Lamb's Respite out of the Kindred. Curtain Call coming forward. Do have a bit of vision is now Chovy. Fancy Feet comes through, and his DDR skills are going to be enough. Carrier, not so much. Catches one off the back end.
Yeah.
DRX will get out of there, and they don't get the turret, and they lose the Drake.
And so a lot of very weird decision-making coming out for DRX right there. They were constantly grouped up, almost inviting Kennen to come in, but obviously if Kennen's seeing that, he's not thinking, well, okay. But then because DAMWON were the first ones that had control over River, they could just start the Dragon. And unfortunately, for DRX, their team composition cannot just bulldoze headfirst into the Kennen. So, DAMWON now, they put the game in a very awkward position. So despite pretty much nothing happening this game, only 4 kills in total, and a couple of turret captures, DAMWON are really threatening DRX basically with the game.
Yeah, it's like an invisible snowball or something like that.
Yeah? You ever seen that invisible Nunu bug?
Oh, no, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay, well.
Is it a good one? One of your favorites?
It's definitely good. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, Def now has a couple of items. The rapid fire completed. Ghost sitting on the same thing, basically. Spellbinder through for Showmaker as well, and there's a pretty cool hat on this cannon who just decided that he wasn't going to build his Zhonyas. He wanted to have as much damage for this soul fight as possible. And that hat is going to mean that any sort of cannon flank is going to be basically impossible to deal with. There's a Zenith Blade, and they've caught out Doran, but uses the Blast Cone, gets himself to relative safety. Now regroups with his team, but the Jace not going to be team fighting in melee range against anyone with that kind of health bar. Throws out his Shock Blast onto Showmaker. Good stun onto Deft, and collateral damage takes him to 200 health. Deft needs a reset. Still 2.5 minutes on the Dragon, so not going to lose too much here on the side of DRX, but DAMWON just showing them that they can do some poking too. Shock Blast going to be avoided as Doran gets himself out of the way of the Scatter the Weak and uses the Infernal Blast Cone get himself towards this bottom lane as Nogri is just taken down this turret by himself.
And this is the really scary thing that we were mentioning inside of the draft phase is Syndra's range, Jin's range, and even Graves with just his R.
Yeah.
Able to help them out, getting everyone into lethal range. And so it's very hard for all of DRX's champions to actually approach these characters. But the only way that DRX can potentially win a team fight is if they have better position and Orianna's ball is able to essentially act as one of the main bridges of connecting their champions to DAMWON's range.
And I think that Lamb's Respite is also going to be extraordinarily pivotal in these fights as well. If they can eat some of the big cooldowns with that one, you know, Unleash Power comes out and then immediately Pure Shick presses R, things like that. I mean, that could definitely turn the tide. So we'll just have to see. Chovy continuing to push here towards the top side of the map. And the Baron getting pinged out here by DAMWON. DAMWON's still with the lead, and they still have Soul Point. So control is definitely there for them, but it by no means feels over for DRX just yet. Extra crit cloak here for Deft, who's building towards his Stormrazor. He's still leveling up. Deadly Flourish, pretty nice there. Grabs just the edge onto Deft.
Well,
under a minute.
Yeah, 1 minute until that ends up coming up. And we'll see what is going to be the position. DRX now, they're trying to rotate over to it. Doran has a Hex Drinker, he has another Serrated Dirk. A lot of utility coming out by Pioshik. He has the Quicksilver Sash picked up. And so this is just going to mean that this Kindred is just pure utility inside of this team fight. And not able to really do a whole lot else in terms of damage. Chovy trying to shove in a wave down here in bottom, but it's only 20 seconds until the Infernal Dragon. And I feel like the game might just get decided right here, Atlas.
Could potentially. Chovy's Shockwave now on cooldown as well as Pioshik going to get stunned up. Lamb's Respite does go down though. That's going to keep him alive, but they need that for the team fights. The flash out of the Deadly Flourish. And there's the curtain call as the Dragon is spawning. DRX completely zoned away from this area, and that's just going to be free Infernal Soul for DAMWON. Oh, I don't know about that Shockwave in the bottom lane. It whiffed anyway, but even using it against just the cannon is probably not going to work. As DAMWON, a whole bunch of extra damage here, and now they're able to play the Baron Do-si-do if they would like to. Teleport back from Showmaker. And this game's starting to run away from DRX without really much happening.
Yeah, not anything really going on, and yet DAMWON, they're going to get the Baron. And I just feel like, I mean, with the team composition that DRX has, Orianna, she has some wave clear, Caitlyn has a little bit as well, but their team composition is not one that is particularly good at resisting Baron sieges, especially not ones that are bolstered by Infernal Soul helping out. This game just feels very, very, very doomed.
Yeah. Which is not something you say about a 2-2 kill score, 3 turrets to 1 style of game. But then you look at the Dragons, you have a look at the purple buff rotating around DAMWON, and you look at all of the control that they've managed to have around all of their objectives. They've been there first, they've got the vision down, they've cleared the vision out, and it's just been a story of DAMWON being better.
Yeah.
Just in the macro sense, right? Even if there have been moments that DRX can have those sick mechanics that we know that they have, hasn't been a match when it comes to a solid game plan and playing around exactly what they want to achieve in this game. Chovy off to the side, looking for that sneaky Shockwave.
Yeah, he was looking to get maybe something onto Ghost right there. Not going to be able to find it. And we're just having a do-si-do right now here inside of this game.
Yeah, DRX looking like they just don't really know what to do next. This turret's going to go down towards the bottom side. DRX continue to bleed objectives. Collateral damage once again used for poke. Scatter the Weak just searching for any sort of pick-off. And Solar Flare to do exactly the same thing. Deadly Flourish does get the stun onto Chovy, who's down to half health. But this is all value for DAMWON, as this siege is going to continue. Now the siege meaning Deft trying to get rid of it, does so with the Peacemaker, nicely done. Showmaker over the wall, I mean, there's just too much pressure.
Right now, they're raising a couple of turrets. 3.5 minutes until the Elder Dragon's gonna come up. DAMWON seem very content to just allow this game to continue to go very slow. Banshee's Veil was picked up on Syndra. Deft.
Yeah, gets angry for a moment.
Yeah. Trying to run in there. Does get the heal out of Ghost, though, and so a little small victory there. Chovy still doesn't have the Rabadon's Death Cap completed just yet. Looks like he's going to run down into bot lane. And oh, no, maybe he has it now. He picks up the blue buff. No, he's not recalling. Not totally sure what's going on, Alice.
Well, the Storm Razor might be done here for Deft as well, as he's gone back to base. Nope, actually can't afford it. BF Sword in the back pocket, though. And, I mean, it feels like DRX are waiting for item timings, but, I mean, it feels like maybe the Nexus is just going to fall before they get there, as they are just giving away so many of these objectives. And yes, you know, it's a gold lead of about 4,000. It's not the end of the world, but you factor in the Infernal Soul, you factor in the fact that DAMWON have so much control over every single objective on this map. And DRX are just going to slowly, well, probably not even slowly, fall further and further behind. Didn't quite catch where the Red Bull Baron power play was at the end, but would have been close to about 3K. Looking at the top of our screen right now.
Well, Another Baron coming up in 2.5 minutes, and honestly, this is really feeling like, have you ever seen that image of the skeleton waiting on the bench?
Yeah!
That's actually...
I had the same idea, actually.
Yeah, just waiting for DAMWON DRX to get their 5th kill.
Yep.
In the game.
Is the Nexus going to be the 5th kill? I don't think so.
Do you know what the most important 50 gold in the game is?
Is it the Nexus?
It's Tibbers.
Ah, okay, that's what I think.
Thanks for asking.
I thought that it would have been too obvious
yeah.
for it to be the Nexus, but yeah, not going to be able to get that 50 gold this game. Fortunately, Tibbers not actually this one. Let's see whether we get any surprise Annie picks as the game, as the tournament continues. Chovy now moving towards this outer turret that DRX have been so keen on for so long, and he will be able to collect it. A lot of shields there for the Orianna. There's now 55 seconds until the Elder Drake. It's Pioshik standing on some traps. DRX have set up for an objective, LS.
Yeah, and we look at the levels on everyone. Graves is up 1 level, Showmaker, even with Chovy. Deft down 1. Oh, hold on.
Noguri looking for it. He's biding his time, waiting for the opportune moment. Pioshik gets popped. He had to Lamb's Respite, but unfortunately he's not going to be able to use it from the Death Chamber. And now DRX don't have a jungler, and there is an Elder Drake coming up in 20 seconds time. That was an error.
That was a kill, actually.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. Just want to let you know that.
Thank you. I'm trying to make sure that I stay on top of it. As the Elder Drake does come down.
Whoa.
DRX in a really awkward position.
Looks
Teleport
like DRX,
back from Doran.
Yeah, they're deciding that it's now or never for them.
Well, they need to make some sort of attempt to stop this from going down because they can't just continue bleeding objectives forever. Chovy moving over to the side. Deft actually frontlining at the moment. As the smoke screen goes down, the flash over. Chovy looks for the shockwave and misses. The flash out from DAMWON.
Oh, but they managed to separate them a little bit. Never mind, Doran going on a little bit of an adventure. Here comes Pioshik, though.
Yeah, Noguri's going to flash in. Massive slicing Maelstrom into the back line. The Lulu dies immediately. Doran going to go down as well, as there's the curtain call. Ghost looking for Chovy, but the Elder Drake is going to fall. And whether this Orianna gets away or not, DAMWON will put themselves in a game-winning position.
Yeah, and now with the Elder Dragon, Solar Flare landed onto the Kindred, but Pioshik has the QSS able to get away. They probably are just going to move over to the Baron now. Canyon does have Smite up again for this, so should be able to go his way. Canyon's also 16 now, Pioshik 14. Just dancing inside of his jungle. Ghost's gonna come over here and try to help him as well. And with Elder and Baron, it would take a miracle in order for DRX to come back inside of this game.
And they also have the Infernal Soul as well. Just a reminder, guys, the game with the least kills at Worlds so far this year had 11. And we've currently got 8. So definitely a lot of bloodlessness, but Chovy, he shot his shot. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough.
And so what happens here is Beryl and Nuguri, I mean, they just get a perfect opening onto Deft and friends right at the very top. Deft tries to get away with his net, but Canyon obviously there with the end of the line, the ricochet off the wall, bringing Deft down. Now it's a 10,000 gold lead to Infernal Dragon, Infernal Soul, Elder, and Baron.
Whoa, Deadly Flourish coming down. They're looking for Deft. He nets to get himself out of the way. This curtain call really starting to do damage as Carrier gets completely chunked. This is a 4-item Jhin. He does a lot of work. DRX now forced to go back as Carrier not going to be there. Don't want to fight a 4v5, and they will just forego their inhibitor turret. They can't just continue sacrificing objectives, but unfortunately, they're just too far behind at this point in the game. Too many buffs circling DAMWON. Still 39 seconds on the Elder Drake. Has 2 inhibitors in the blink of an eye and a teleport towards the top lane. Yeah, Showmaker in there. He'll push this one out, and they're looking for 3.
Well, 2 inhibitors. They're rotating up into top lane, looking to raise this final turret. Pioshik just getting tagged. Even the Graves smoke screen, actually.
I know, this is like a poke Graves.
Yeah.
I guess lethality is going to help you out there, but he's been using his collateral damage just to soften up his opponents so far this game. It's been working. Beryl getting caught out of position for the moment, but he will survive. And DAMWON still pressing forward. Deft, half health. Kyoshik the same, as is Carrier. This is going to be the hat trick of inhibitors on the one Baron and Elder push. Elder has just dissipated. And now DRX are looking at just a couple of Nexus turrets between them and a game 1 loss. Nogari looking for his moment. Kyoshik going down very, very low. Dances out of the way of the deadly flourish. DAMWON continue to press forward. This Nexus turret goes down immediately as now Kyoshik standing on his Lamb's Respite, but immediately he's stunned up. And the curtain call comes forward. This last Nexus turret lasting a bit longer than you may have expected, but eventually does fall down. Collateral damage does so much work over the top of DRX, and there is the slicing Maelstrom, the death nail. The Nexus going down as an afterthought, and DAMWON will